Hi, welcome to the video. Just kind of a follow on from the last one and adding in what Artari said. It's kind of interesting. I'll read it out shortly. And then I'm going to get into an idea I had regarding the mystery, okay? So the comment by Artari is quite long and goes into detail. She said, "To someone who is unaware of crystal skulls, you would not know what to see as well as it is used for. I originally thought it was amethyst, but after I did the video, I looked at it more and it is indeed fluorite. Skulls are used for protection, not by Native Americans with crystals, but actual skulls. Crystal skulls are used by Mayan or Incan, South and Central American, New Age people or Wiccan, Freemasonry practices. Fluorite is found mainly in Brazil and Mexico." With that saying, Kenny commented on videos of real estate in Brazil and Mexico, was talked about in his videos, as well as his friends shared that in the comments. Fluorite is a protection stone, also known for spiritual awakening, dream and astral projection, heighten out-of-body experience. It is for cleansing as well. I know these things because I too worked with these in my past and worked at a job that had the same exact type of skull decades ago. Debbie and Ray carry many types of skulls. It is for protection to their schemes, just like the sword. Both Ray and Kenny practice sword fighting. I agree with Chuck, it was planted there. Don't underestimate Kenny. He was all about detail and considered himself a professional. Skulls are used for rituals. No one can come between the individual that is trying to seek answers. It's a protection for that individual. As for the drone coverage, it is, prohibited in the mountains. That's basically what she was getting at. One thing that is 100% a skull, not quartz or a normal rock. I mean, in terms of where do we begin? I mean, there's a lot to take in. You can leave your own opinion down below in the comment section. As for me, I can't speak too much because I don't really know anything about spirituality and other stuff like that. But I can understand about symbolisms. I mean, if religion, all the different religions have different symbols and meanings behind them, then I'm sure spirituality does as well. And we've seen them, on the Reiki Hidden Forest healing store. I'm sure on the website there was certain symbols as well, and I never could find it myself, but I know Jeff Clark and Artari did. But on the Hidden Forest website, that healing store by the Veach family, there was actually a skull symbol on the website, kind of similar to the skull found in the Mineshaft. So there's quite a few crossovers, and you've heard me talk about it in the past about many different crossovers, and one of the key ones I talked about was spirituality, to do with investigators and people coming in who are also into spirituality. So there's a link there. As for the skull itself, the meaning behind it, for protection, I can understand, because if there's like other reasons and other people have used crystals for whatever reason, maybe for good luck or fortune or safety, I don't know, then I'm sure it can apply with skulls as well. And the baseline is what Artari says will be based on her own experiences, and primarily because of the job she was in at the time, which was that like healing store, spiritual store. I don't know if the person still watches, but I think there was a viewer called Kiki who was also worked in a spiritual store, or currently is, I don't know. But these little crossovers and actual hand experiences with stuff and actually seeing it whilst they're there, they'll know more about it, because that's what they're around. So and as well, just simply down to the fact that healing store, they were literally selling skulls, and it's owned by a Veach family, so it really ties in together. I mean, you can't doubt it. If there's a thing that looks like a skull, and definitely looks like a skull in the Mineshaft, and it also looks quite similar to the skulls found at a healing store, and the healing store is also owned by Veach family members, there's quite a few ties with one another which could suggest something. And that's like what Artari was getting at about the Veach family. I think it's the brother Ray Veach who planted it there at a certain point in time for the protection. I'll just get into my questioning about the protection shortly, because there is one thing I just want to add in. But yeah, the first thing is okay, Ray would have done it. Okay, could have done it. I'll say it in that wording. Makes sense. You can't imagine Debbie doing it just because of the terrain and the environment. I don't think they're a hiker, but I'm sure Ray could handle it probably. And it all depends when it was actually done, because if it's in 2014, which you would expect, because that's when it was all planned, when it whatever happened on the 10th of November, you'd think that the school would have been there very shortly, because if you want to tie it in with the search and rescue team and what Artari said, and even what I said previously, the fact that, you know, the scent was lost at the mineshaft, it didn't go any further, it would suggest that there's a possibility the person, you know, backtracked the way they came. And it could have well been Ray Veach himself that planted the school there and then disappeared, walked away. The only little question I would throw in is, could it be Kenny? I mean, I'm not questioning whether it's a skull or not, or I'm not questioning it was planted there for an actual reason, but could Kenny have done it himself? Mainly because of the scent. If Kenny's scent was found in that area, then it must have been Kenny that was there at the time, unless Ray was wearing clothing of Kenny, or he had some kind of object linked with Kenny which had his scent on it to give off that impression, maybe. It would make more sense if it was Kenny that put the skull there himself, because he knows the area well and he's hiked there. It would make more sense for him to do it himself, because he probably could get into the mineshaft more easier, I guess. So yeah, but regardless, whether it's Kenny or Ray or both at the same time that went, it would make sense because of the whole scent thing, the whole story of being out there, because that's what he said he was going to do, and he even left a text message that is actual evidence to say when, where, and what he was going to do. So it was, you know, set up in place. And the scent's there as well, it really does, you know, imply that he's there, and the vehicle as well. But obviously for Kenny to get back, he would need to be picked up by someone, so maybe that's where Ray comes in. And you know, I've already made videos on this sort of stuff, so if you want to check back, I'm sure you'll be able to find it. They're not that long ago, okay? So yeah, I agree with, or I can understand what Artari's getting at. I'm going to say I understand what Artari's getting at is because I can't be 100% in line by her side in terms of thoughts, because I don't know what she knows, or I don't have the experiences she has, so I can't go all in on it, okay? But, you know, I wouldn't be surprised it's a skull, and with all the ties and links and the fact that there's all one big plan, one big hoax of going there, planting it there for whatever reason, and then leaving to make it all seem like that's where he's at and you can go anywhere else. Yeah, it all makes sense, okay? Was there anything else? The skull for protection. Is that to warn off people or to keep the mystery going? I mean, it is to do with spiritual stuff, so obviously I'm not going to really know about that. But, you know, there's been spiritual people that have been there near the mineshaft, like Sean, like J Chuck. It'd be interesting to see if they and maybe any others who are spiritual who were at the mineshaft at the time when the skull was there, did they feel anything? Did they pick up on anything? You know, Jeff Clark said he felt vibrations when he went at the time. I can't remember where he parked. Was it on a different road? But he said he got out and then he felt the vibrations. That's different reasons, obviously, but could any spiritual people have detected or felt a spiritual presence, whether it be a negative feel or a positive feel, like some wave of resistance, or like a bad gut feeling within that area? Because if that skull is implemented there for protection, is it to push people away, to keep people out? Or is it a symbolism, protection for Kenny's real identity, or like real location of where he's at, holding secrets? You know, I'm not sure if Artari's getting at a full-on spiritual symbolism of keeping things a secret and protect it from people, or it literally mean the skull is there to repel people, push people away from visiting. I can imagine it's to do with the spiritual symbolism part, like I just said, because obviously Scott Natal back in 2021 did go into the Mineshaft. I said, when I said to Jeff Clark, it's a shame we didn't get to see, you know, Scott Natal capture the correct angle at the time, because it would have been interesting to see whether that skull was there or not. If it was still there, then it would be quite interesting, because one of the valid points Jeff Clark mentioned was when, you know, those recent guys who I talked about in the last video who went there back in 2018, they were there as well, and obviously damaged to see the ladder and stuff at the time. Could that have triggered the skull or the rock, whatever you want to call it, on the side to, you know, roll off, fall off? But the guys that were there recently replied to Jeff Clark on another video and were saying how they were looking around on the ground and they couldn't find anything, you know, anything strange. So it would rule out that idea of a skull, because I know it's small, but maybe, you know, with the lighting you could see from there, maybe they would have seen it on the ground, it would have shown up. So from that perspective, or that idea as the thoughts, you'd think, okay, then it's just not there, it has been taken. The real question is, why has it been taken now? So, okay, let's say there was a purpose, there was a reason for it in the first place, protection, symbolisms, etc., etc., spirituality. Why has it been removed now? Is it because the deed has been done, task completed? Is that the reason? And like, it's a shame we don't know how long it was there for, because sure, from 2014 to 2017, if we're basing off the idea that one of the Veach family members placed it there, preferably in 2014, hence the scent being there, whether it be on the 10th of November or a few days before the search and rescue at least, you can definitely say it was done in 2014 and it remained there up to 2017. So I guess it was a permanent thing, a permanent feature to be there, but it no longer is now. Is that because of coverage? I mean, some people were talking about how someone might have taken it as a souvenir. I mean, if you're still a bit skeptical and you don't quite believe it's a skull, surely this would reinforce that idea of it being a skull, because if people have actually been there since and have taken it because they thought, oh, that looks interesting, or they knew it was a skull and they took it, there'd be no reason to take it if it was merely a basic rock, right? I mean, it depends if people just took it for the sake of it, just to create a mystery, a further mystery. But if people genuinely were aware of it, or just came across it on their travels and believed, oh, this looks like a nice skull, I'll take it. A souvenir, a collection, it reinforced that idea that it must have some value in, I can't say aesthetics, basically the visual look of it. So you can find probably a skull. You know, when you get people that take souvenirs, there's a reason for taking it in the first place, and it holds some value, whether it's to them or to someone else, or the meaning behind it. If you saw a rusty old nail or a little stone on the ground, you wouldn't take it. But if you saw a pebble or a stone and it was crystallized, or it was very shiny and looked good, you'd probably take it then as a souvenir. There's more of a reason to take that specific thing, right? Another key point you've got to consider, tying it in with the whole souvenir collection thing, is within the mineshaft, there are a fair few items down below, whether it be bits of the ladder, planks of wood, maybe mining equipment, maybe like sieves or pans, beer bottles, bottle tops, caps, the lot. Surely you'd think someone would take that over a measly small supposed skull in the corner, which most people didn't see when they were there at the time. Like Jeff Clark didn't see it. It was 5 years later, to the point where he then saw it and was convinced. So if someone who was actually there at the time couldn't see it themselves or wasn't aware of it, then you'd think, you know, souvenir hunters and stuff who weren't watching my videos and were just there at the time and thought, oh, this looks cool, you wouldn't think they would see it. You'd think they'd be more attracted to what's down below at the bottom. Just like Scott Natal, because Scott Natal, you know, took a few items with him. He didn't see the skull, he didn't make any note of it. So who knows if it was there at the time or not. So with all that in mind, still tying it in with someone went there to purposely take it, it would make more sense that whoever it was watching this video. Not literally this one, but my original video I did on the skull. Or even maybe the video what Jeff Clark did, if they were that far back when watching. It would make more sense, because if you point something out in a video that is very hard to see or something you wouldn't pick up on, most people wouldn't, and then someone comes along and sees that, then they'll be alerted, they'll be aware, the senses will be heightened, so when they do go, they'll be specifically on the lookout for that one specific object. So then it would make more sense. So if that was the case, what's the whole reasoning behind it? Is it just because it looks fancy, it looks cool, so they just want it? And with the little tip-off, if you want to call it, by revealing its location, which is on the north wall, the mineshaft, that's why they did it? Or was it to add more mystery? Because, come on, you know, people can like throw it in and say, oh, it's a pointless mystery, oh, it's meaningless, this and that. Yes, but what you need to understand is it's just not one thing. If it was just one occurrence, just one thing, it wouldn't mean really much at all, you know? But because of the location, because of the many ties and links and symbolisms with it associated, and then with the sense that there is further change, further developments, things going missing, things being adapted, things being changed, environmental stuff, etc., and it's all within the same area or nearby, it is a bit odd. Come on. Like even the covered cave itself, that supposed covered M-shaped cave, when that rock ended up going missing, which was eventually found on the floor. I mean, who was responsible for that? We still don't know. Will we ever find out? Maybe. We found out about the mineshaft, didn't we? So the same could happen with the cave. Could you argue the person that stole or, you know, collected the skull, would that being the case, were they responsible for the cave as well, with the rock being moved? Was it the same exact person? You know, you got to keep actively thinking and trying to make ties and connections and leads, because that's what obviously people do. And that's what you're supposed to do, at least, and try and come to a conclusion or see if you can find more stuff down the line. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything I really missed out in terms of Artari's comment. Like I said, it's quite a long one. You might have to replay it a few times. I know she said something about Native Americans and all that stuff, Asian-related stuff. They would do it for other different reasons or use other kinds of objects or something. Could those cave symbols that were by Scott Natal, was that Native Americans or was that something else? Was that more symbolism? I mean, it's a symbol, come on, you know. And also by Aquachiga, video by Aquachiga, more recent one, where there was like a rock wall or something faced with all kinds of symbols on, probably quite old ones, but, you know, it hammers home, well, not home, but in the sense of saying it hammers home that there's that sense of symbolism, whether it's all tied with spirituality or not. Within the area, or at least the landscape, there's all kinds of symbols, like in Hebrew, the M-shaped symbol on that rock, what really Robin came across, the cave symbols found by Scott Natal, the symbols on the rock wall found by Aquachiga, the symbolic meaning, symbolism behind this crystal skull within the mineshaft. You see, there's quite a lot of connections being established, or kind of links in their own ways, in their own right. I don't know if I mentioned it in this video, because sometimes I forget, is, so at what point was the skull removed though? Tying it back with what Artari said, that it's likely the person that put it there was responsible for taking it away. I believe I'm correct in saying that, and if not, it's what Jeff Clark was hinting at about that idea, at least. Now, to correct me if I'm wrong there, okay? But yeah, When was it removed? Was there a real reason to remove it? You know what I'm saying? If it was intended and placed there for protection to begin with, why was it removed afterwards? And if it was shortly afterwards, okay, kinds of makes sense to try and, you know, push away maybe search and rescue, or to throw them off track or something. But as said, it was 2017 when the skull was there, so it was from all the way back 2014 to 2017. So it makes it even more questionable to why was it removed during 2017 or afterwards? Why the gap in between throughout those years? The protection for what? Is it all the way up to the protection of the 7-year anniversary, the documentary of Kenny Veach, and then it was removed? Because you want to do a little timeline or something. Documentary came out, shit, when did it come out now? It was before December. I think it was November. Yeah, no, it was November. I remember. Well, obviously I will remember because that's when Sharon, the supposed girlfriend, said she was going to release the extended footage of Kenny Veach's cave hike in November, but preferably, I think, 3-4 years beforehand. So I don't know what the delay was there. That's another strange thing, obviously. But yeah, it was November when the documentary came out. And these guys that hiked out there and went into the Mineshaft, that was the 1st of January 2022. So it's a few months after. So maybe the skull was removed after that 7th anniversary of Kenny going missing, supposedly. The skull was removed after the documentary was filmed for whatever reason. Could that be the case? Explanation to when it was removed? I mean, it would have cleared a few things up if someone like Scott Natal was able to capture, as I said, within, because we could have seen it from there and done a, you know, comparison of timelines, and because we've done it before with the covered cave, I think. Yes, we have. We've done a comparison with what else was there? The Mineshaft itself at the time when we were unaware of the damage to it. And it does help, it really does help, because you can definitely see the changes. And it doesn't just have to apply to a mystery, it can apply to anything. You can keep progression or look back retrospectively and also proactively. And you can see it all, how it changes and develops. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do that with the skull, but here's what it is. Now, some people can complain and say, oh yeah, but what happens now? Oh, it's a dead end, that's the end of the world, blah, blah. No, because depending how you want to interpret it, if it is definitely a skull, you know, Artari definitely believes it's a skull based off her experience and what she's seen. I'm not going to contest that. The fact that there is someone that has taken it, then that creates another mystery, another strange lead, makes you think another strange individual or group of people, you don't know. So there is that. And I just want to just throw in a random example. Just the damage to the Mineshaft, you know, at a point in time, that was quite a big thing. You know, you think, remote place, somewhere where Kenny originally was, a place where his scent was, you know, found and ended. Damage to the Mineshaft, something going on, something very weird. And yeah, mystery at the time, but then with, you know, covering it enough and it receiving a fair bit of attention, eventually someone reached out. Hence, them explaining what actually happened. It was solved with that regard. That's good. Then maybe you can make the argument and that skull might be solved. For whatever reason, maybe down the line, someone might reach out. If my previous video, you know, gets a bit of traction, or people start just simply talking about it more and giving their opinions, maybe someone might indirectly come along at some point and say, it's me, I decided to take it because it looked cool, or I decided to take it because it was a bit of a prank. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, there'll be some people that will say, oh yeah, but if it's a prank or if it's people messing around, then obviously they're not going to come forth and explain or whatever. Well, someone did in the past when it came to those cryptic messages and cryptic codes, you know, when people were following the trend of imposter accounts where it all begun, someone started using a Let Me Kill Mr. account and then left some weird cryptic message. I covered it for a little bit of time, a little bit of traction, a little bit of discussion. In the end, the person revealed themselves and said, hey, I was only doing it because I'm a fan and I wanted to be recognised. Okay, mystery solved. Arguably a waste of time. I didn't waste really any time, to be honest. It didn't take that long to make or to cover. But it led to a resolve, it led to a conclusion, and that was even by a degenerate who was messing around and thought it was a cool idea to do so, and yet they came forth and explained. And even with the Mineshaft as well, the reason why there's a significance behind it is, you know, if there's damage done, and that's, you know, if you want to put it on a bit of a serious scale, you know, damage to the environment, going against certain laws or regulations, you know, people were telling me back then, oh, no one's ever going to come forth or explain or say, hey, I did that, especially in response to the whole M-shaped cave, you know, when it was, you know, the rock was missing. People kept saying to me, oh, no one's ever going to come forwards and explain or say that they did it or own up. And yet, what did we get? As with the Mineshaft damage to it, people stepped up and people said, yeah, it was me back 2018. And they even commented on it in 2018 when they said, oh, the second ladder's gone. And that's exactly what happened. You see what I'm saying? You say, well, not you, all of you, but some of the people will say, as if it's going to be solved. No one's going to own up. No one's going to come forth. It's a mystery. The end. And yet over time, bit by bit, where it's directly linked with Kenny or the cave or sub-mystery, some people have come forwards when you would least expect it. So the same could happen again. That's what I'm getting at, okay? So aside from talking for quite a while, in terms of the idea I originally had, what I wanted to do regarding the Kenny Veach mystery was the use of Google Earth, Google Maps, but applying it a little bit deeper than beforehand. So, you know, with J Silverheels, I've seen them use Google Earth, and I don't mean the standard version, I mean the version where it looked like there was a white border around the side and it had other different features and options, and that's how they were using that flight simulator thing as well. When I saw it at the time, I thought, oh, that was quite good. I wish I could use it or have a look at it and see what there is to do and what could be applied, but I never knew the name of it. I didn't know how to access it. And then someone came along and then messaged me, told me and said, it's called Google Earth Pro and you have to actually install it. It's not the simple web version, but it's like more of an app you install, and then it's got more features on, specifically such as changing the time of day and changing the actual date and year and the time as well. So with that in mind, I thought, okay, what if I, you know, scaled back to 2014, the 10th of November, and up to maybe the 17th or 18th, and check between, you know, that year and that month, the 12th, the 10th to about the 18th of November, just to see does anything show up from the satellite view. Because if, you know, Kenny said he did go out there on that day at a certain time, then if it was captured on Google Earth at the time, it would probably show his vehicle, or it would show a vehicle and maybe some little dots. I don't know how well it does picking up people, but it will definitely pick up a vehicle. And then you could compare that a few days on and see if the vehicle still is remaining, or maybe in between, to see if there's another vehicle somewhere. Because let's say, tying it back in with Artari, because I can apply it at this moment in time, because what I previously said, it's relevant. With Artari saying how, okay, maybe Ray Veach went there in his vehicle or in Kenny's vehicle and then was picked up, or if it's Kenny that went and then was picked up by Ray, whichever way around it was, there would have been more than one vehicle, more than one car. And if you was checking on Google Earth, you could see if another vehicle shows up, which should do. And then it would reinforce, obviously, a very interesting theory and outcome. And it just reinforce it, just really reinforce it more, so there's more evidence. But when I tried doing it, it didn't really work out, okay? Because, you know, a bit typical, a bit ironic, but when you go on the timeline, yeah, it does like 1999, 2000, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, you know, etc. Once it gets to 2013, when you click the next button, it skips from 2013 to 2016, which is really annoying. So you can't see 2014, 15. I don't know why. I don't know why they didn't cover the area for 2 years straight. Bit weird, considering they captured it all the other times. So that's kind of annoying, to be fair, okay? So it meant I couldn't really check. Unless I'm doing something wrong. I mean, it gives you the ability to type in your own custom date, year. So I did that. But when I clicked enter, it didn't really do anything. And I double checked in a different area where you can actually see better visual stuff, like such as cars, traffic, well, not people, but traffic and cars, stuff like that. And I tried changing the date, adjusting it. And when I pressed enter, nothing changed, nothing shifted, nothing moved. So I guess it was an error, basically. It didn't register because it was never on record to begin with, that date, that year of the area in itself. You know what I'm saying? So a bit of a problem there, unless I've done something wrong or there is another way around it, but it was an interesting way of doing it. If you wanted to see maybe a video of me using the Google Earth thing, changing the dates back, going through the area, having a browse around like I've done in my map analysis videos, if you'd want to see that, just for the sake of, such as the Mineshaft, maybe the area where the covered cave was, where the tent was found, is it worthwhile me making a video on that and going back in time throughout the years in the locations of where the tent was found, where the supposed covered cave was, and the Mineshaft, and just to see if throughout the years anything changes, or if anything's spotted, you know, if any rocks have moved, or if anything just looks a little bit different. I mean, it's probably not that practical, not that easy to see, but you never know. It can still have its appliances. I mean, the primary reason was to see if the vehicle was there or not, which can't seem to do because the mums are missing. But if there was any kind of military action there in more recent time, no, actually, no, that wouldn't make any sense, to be honest, in terms of the military action part, because if military were going to start operating in the area, I'm sure they don't want a drone or some kind of satellite, you know, capturing them at the time, no. But then again though, that satellite image on Google Earth did detect that drone, that actual military drone on Google Earth in the area, so it might not stop at that rate. So it could pick up other kinds of military or other kinds of aircraft or stuff going on if you go back through the years. So just let me know in the comment section if you want to see a video like that. If you don't manage to watch all of this video or get to this point, I'll just do a community tab as well, just to reinforce it and see. But yeah, hopefully that explains it all. Main video of this was just passing on with what Artari had to say, because she, you know, gave me the green light to say it was okay for me to share it and, you know, I guess give my opinion on it as well. So yeah, at the end of the day, very strange, another mystery. There's a possibility that it could lead to an outcome or maybe tie on with something else, but we'll see, okay? So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.